After months of hammering Republicans over their failure to repeal Obamacare, President Donald Trump huddled this week with moderate House Democrats and Republicans who were trying to sell him on a fix to the healthcare law. After hearing it had bipartisan support, the president had one question: can I call it repeal and replace? You can call it whatever you want, Mr. President, a Democratic lawmaker told Trump, eliciting laughter throughout the room. The president loved that response. Trump is on a bipartisan tear of late. Elated by what he viewed as glowing press after his debt ceiling deal with Democratic leaders Chuck and Nancy last week, Trump wants to replicate that thrill of victory, which he believes Republicans have failed to deliver since his inauguration. In recent weeks, Trump has complained in private that it's difficult to have any sort of relationship, or even make small talk, with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. He has told staff that he finds Speaker Paul Ryan, whom he's dubbed a Boy Scout, dry as well, but the two have some rapport. By contrast, Trump can relate to Democratic leaders Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, who talk more in non-Washington terms that he understands, according to people familiar with their meetings. Trump wants to keep meeting with them. No one knows how long his bipartisan kick will last or how successful he'll be. Democrats have little political upside to working with an unpopular president whom their base abhors. And there will certainly be limits to how much the White House can cut out Republican leadership, who still control what the House and Senate actually vote on. There are huge chasms substantively, too. Trump, for instance, told Democrats on Wednesday night that his tax plan was for the middle class and not the rich. That prompted Schumer and Pelosi to note parts of the pending proposal that would benefit the wealthy. Still, after feeling Republicans in Congress had largely failed him, Trump has decided that he will work with whomever can give him wins, according to White House sources familiar with his thinking. During his half-hour meeting with the bipartisan House Problem Solvers Caucus at the White House, Trump left the door open to combining a massive tax cut and infrastructure package, an idea GOP leaders have rejected. He also tasked his top economic advisor, Gary Cohn, with setting up a working group on taxes with Blue Dog Democrats. He also told that group his tax plan wouldn't help the rich, and he suggested his proposed border wall with Mexico need not be part of a deal allowing dreamers to stay in the country legally. When a staffer entered the room to say it was time to go, Trump kept talking, according to one lawmaker present. And the intensity of the conversation, as well as the presence of Trump's most senior advisors, including Cohn, Chief of Staff John Kelly, Budget Director Mick Mulvaney to Legislative Liaison Mark Short, caught Democratic attendees by surprise. I assumed he was going to lecture us for about an hour and tell us how great he was and talk about the election, but he didn't do that. It was pretty productive, said Representative Kurt Schrader-Dior, who attended the meeting. He engaged members and said, "What do you want to do?" A senior administration official said the only Republican in leadership whom Trump has a personal connection with is House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, a backslapping California Republican whose penchant for schmoozing mirrors the president's. And because of the stale dynamic with GOP leaders, the same person said you would have to be an idiot if you didn't see his Democrat infatuation coming. During a meeting with New York and New Jersey Democrats last week, Trump called New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, my governor, and asked how he could help with New York infrastructure projects, particularly LaGuardia and JFK airports. Trump also talked about the recovery from Superstorm Sandy in 2012 and the construction of the Tappan Zee Bridge, a throwback to his hometown. He mused at the gathering that everyone loved the debt ceiling deal he'd struck with Democratic leaders a day earlier because it was bipartisan, even if people didn't understand the specifics of it. One attendee said he grinned so much at Schumer that it was almost uncomfortable. He shook Schumer's hand repeatedly and said in private he was better at keeping his caucus together than Republicans, and that he wanted to work together more often. Schumer just talks to him. You get Mitch and Paul in here, and they're trying to explain this or that, and there is no personal connection, said a White House source. The feeling appears to be mutual. Schumer was caught on a hot mic Thursday telling a colleague that Trump likes me. Trump kicked off his meeting with the problem solvers with a call to reach across the aisle on tax reform, telling the bipartisan group, "I want to give this a try and see if it works." When